Welcome to At Your Service, the service management podcast on the CRM Audio Network, with your hosts, Sean Tabor and Scott LaFonte. KingswaySoft is a leading integration solution provider offering software solutions that make data integration affordable and painlessly easy. Thousands of enterprise clients from over 70 countries and regions rely on KingswaySoft to integrate their data with various business systems in order to drive their business efficiencies and fully leverage their information assets. KingswaySoft is a leading provider of Microsoft Dynamics integration software, including Dynamics 365, CRM, AX, Nav, GP, SL, as well as many other applications. Check out KingswaySoft's Winter 27 release, which now includes the ability to edit the POA table. We thank KingswaySoft for sponsoring this episode of At Your Service. Hi, and welcome to another episode of At Your Service. As always, I am Sean Tabor, your host, with Scott LaFonte. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Sean. How are you?
I'm doing well. And we have a very special guest today. We have Stano from Resco, and we're going to talk a little bit about mobility for field service and Dynamics 365. It should be an interesting conversation. Good afternoon, Yvonne.
Hello, Sean. Hello, Scott. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure. So in your role as COO of Resco, you have seen your solution transform a multitude of different ways. So when we first got the partnership with Microsoft, would you say that is more with the Field One acquisition or before?
For us at Resco, the CRM is a really, really long story, and I was kind of lucky to be with the Resco team since the very beginning, since we basically started with CRM from the mobile point of view. And it was what I've witnessed was a tremendous growth of both the dynamic CRM as a solution and mobility within CRM, especially. I think it's becoming a must for almost every company nowadays. So it's been a great journey. For us at Resco, it was a very interesting path as well. There was a lot of turns and twists. I believe that many of your listeners remember companies such as CWR Mobility or 10 Digits, who were the pioneers of mobility in CRM. Exactly. And at one point, I think it might be maybe like 6 or 7 years ago, there was a deal that CWR struck with Microsoft, and Microsoft supposedly should sell a rebranded version of CWR, for example, and that made us think a lot about what the future is going to be like, and if we can survive such huge impact on our business and on partners and customers in the Dynamics channel in general. But somehow we were always able to find a way to survive. We focused always a lot on technology. We try to listen to our customers and partners and Microsoft very closely to understand what they need, how they approach mobility, what they expect from their mobile applications and solutions. And thanks to our very swift development team, we were always able to deliver on time and that way stay ahead of the competition.
Oh, really good. And you're not only... Resco, like you said, in and of itself, is a mobile solution, regardless whether you have field service or any other Woodford solution. This is an alternative out of the gate.
Yeah, absolutely, that's correct. So yeah, Resco is a preferred solution for field service by Microsoft. So the Dynamics 365 for field service mobile application is fully based on Resco technology. But our technology is very flexible and very versatile. So you can use Woodford, the configuration tool, to basically create any type of mobile business application which is integrated with Dynamics 365 CRM. So we see a lot of implementations beyond field service. Field service is becoming a very important and big portion of our business. But we see a lot of implementation within sales as well, as these people naturally spend a lot of time out of their offices visiting customers, clients, partners, suppliers, etc. We see a lot of implementations that result into very custom mobile experience. So based on some statistics that I got from my colleagues, most of our customers have up to 50% custom entities in their final mobile application. So I think that's a good example of how customizable Resco is and how actually customers approach mobility. So it's a lot of very unique custom mobile experiences that they have when they're trying to create a mobile application using Resco.
Well, and Yvonne, you bring up a great point with customization, and I tout it as being extremely flexible. And there's a lot that the Resco mobile application on top of the Woodford solution can do that you can't obtain very easily or out of the box with, say, Dynamics 365, their true mobile app that's not field service specific, such as the ability to take a picture and have it embed or the signature capture. And yes, there's always ways to go about doing it, but your application and your tool set provides so much flexibility to users. And I think you said there's really the possibilities are really endless on how your organizations or organizations that use this could offer this as a solution, an end-to-end solution for their users.
Absolutely. I think you hit the right point there, because when I talk to customers, which I like to do, and I do it quite often, many times I have a feeling that customers think that, okay, I have this big CRM system here running on my desktop or laptop computers, and I just want to take the same thing and bring it on a small screen of my smartphone, right? But the mobile scenario and the mobile use case is 9 out of 10 times very different to what people do on their regular computers or laptops. And we at Resco believe that we should provide tools powerful enough to make sure that you as a customer can get your custom mobile experience that really addresses the scenario that you're gonna execute out in the field. And yeah, I believe we're putting more and more muscle into our configuration and customization tools to make sure that we can address all of the challenges or all of the requirements that our customers have or face. And we believe that every mobile experience should be really tailor-made and should result into a tailor-made application specifically designed around certain mobile business process, around certain tasks that people do out in the field. It shouldn't just simply replicate your CRM system from big screens and bring that experience to a smartphone or tablet.
And Yvonne, you're going to go through a lot of these different topics and features and functions in the upcoming Resco.next coming up here next month, right?
That's absolutely correct. So we've been doing a lot of events throughout the years. We tried different formats. We tried to do events in Europe. We tried to do events in North America. We tried one-day workshops. We tried multiple day events. And after some feedback, we decided it probably would be the best to create at least a 2-day event, one in Europe. We're doing that for, it was a 3rd edition last fall. And this spring in March, 14th and 15th of March, we are doing the North American edition. It will be in Atlanta, Georgia. And we're focusing heavily on field service and mobile topics. So we decided to do a multiple-day event because simply the content, everything that our partners and customers ask us is just impossible to explain in one day.
I can imagine.
And I've looked at the agenda and the sessions, and I mean, you're right. I mean, there is just a significant amount of content, and the speakers that you have brought in, for example, like Ben Vollmer, I mean, who doesn't want to hear Ben talk passionately about field service and mobility? I know I could sit and listen to him talk about it and kind of absorb his knowledge and his wisdom of where we've been, where we're going, and how. I know he does a lot with IoT, and it's always amazing when I see him on LinkedIn and all his posts, and what he's doing in that arena is just extremely fascinating.
And Yvonne, you're kind of brave sharing that keynote spotlight with him. I hope you've already carved out a chunk of time to talk specifically for yourself, because when you get Ben going, that's it.
I know, you're absolutely right. And I'm so excited that Ben actually agreed to come to Atlanta and join us there. I know Ben for quite a long time, I believe, before I moved to the US, and his passion and his excitement, that's something that resonates with everyone in the audience. So I'm really excited about sharing the spotlight there with Ben. But apart from Ben, we also have lots of other great speakers, and I'm very happy that you, Sean, and you, Scott, agreed to come to Atlanta and share your experience with mobile technologies. And I think there will be a lot of content about where we're heading. Ben will talk a lot about field service, the future of field service, IoT, topics like that. And on the other side, we'll have great sessions about practical examples, real-life examples. So your sessions about tips and tricks, how to install field service, how to approach mobility, how to start a mobile project. Things like that will also add a lot of hands-on value for all the attendees there.
I'm hoping for it. And if you guys want to have, those of you that are listening, if you want more information on the Resco.next conference, it's May 14th and 15th, and you can get more information at Resco, RESCO.net. And you can see the agenda and the venue. And I'm sorry, March 4th. What did I say, May? Oh, March 14th and 15th.
That's still impacting you.
I think it is. March 14th and 15th. And you can get more information available at Resco.net.
And Yvonne, I want to touch on something that you had said in terms of the tips and tricks. It's a tough combination to say. We might have to change that. Approaching a field or a mobility project, let alone field service, but a mobility is essentially almost like a little mini project within an overall project.
Right.
You have to approach it, and I would imagine you've seen this, Yvonne, over your course at Resco. You have to approach it a little bit differently in terms of, the platforms that the customers and the users are using, the data volumes that if you're working offline, there's so much to look into from a mobile standpoint that, yes, your tool can do so many amazing things, but the platform that you're using is limited, right? In terms of size of what it can hold and some of the other features, and it depends then, of course, of what technology an organization is using. But those are all things that, right? I mean, you guys have taken into consideration, and the fact that it is so versatile in terms of the platforms that it can be on is a great thing, but also depending on the organizations that are using it, and if they're BYOD, could be a challenge.
Yeah, we're running in some of the projects that we are implementing Resco in. We're running into the daunting task of an offline profile. So you have field service engineers that could be underground working on equipment with no internet access at all, and needing to access important information from their Dynamics 365 infrastructure offline. It just doesn't. Dynamics 365 doesn't normally lend itself to that much offline access to data. And with the Resco tool, how are you looking at increasing that or improving that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can only agree with what you said and what you mentioned. So I think mobility is very specific and very unique, even within if I oversimplify it, within the IT world,
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
The mobile technologies, they evolve extremely quickly. Like we have new operating systems every year, number of updates and upgrades over the year in between two main releases. So like iOS released every September, new Android version released every August. Tons of different devices. Now even Apple is kind of changing the game with releasing two new devices at the same time, iPhone 8 and iPhone 10. Different screens, different resolutions, different hardware requirements, etc. On the other side, you have the new versions of CRM, right? Dynamics 365 version 9 released not long ago. So those are all the things that you as a person need to kind of consider when focusing mobility. And we're trying to make it as simple as possible with Resco tools. Of course, it's not completely painless, but we're trying to make it as painless as possible for partners that decide to address mobility with Resco. So all our tools are designed to have multi-platform support. So you don't have to focus on specific platforms such as Android or iOS or Windows. You can really rather focus on the functionality that you want to have in the final mobile application and solution. So all changes are done once in one tool, and we bring that multi-platform support across three major platforms: iOS, Android, and Windows. Offline, that's another huge story at Resco, and I think this is one of the most important differentiators when you compare Resco to other solutions or even other mobile application development platforms. So everything that we design or add into our solution, we try to look at it through the offline lenses, if you will. As we understand that even though it's 2018 and you have 4G networks, LTE networks, there are still situations when you just cannot guarantee uninterrupted internet speeds or connectivity, etc. So out of the 2,000 customers that we have, I would say 99% really rely on offline capabilities of Resco. So we really try to make sure that everything that we add into solution is available in offline mode. So there are some limitations, of course, but some we can even cope with and find workarounds. So, for example, a lot of our customers really love maps, how they can utilize mapping, navigation, and adding that map visual context into CRM data. So we found a way to partner with a third-party map provider so we can now bring maps for offline purposes as well, for example. And that's a huge productivity boost for our customers. And of course, we have customers who really cannot actually work without offline capabilities. So companies, especially in field service arena, there are companies who service water tanks out in the, like hundreds miles outside of areas where people live. Or we have company in Europe. They service the windmills that are located in the North Sea. So hundreds miles of coast where there's basically very limited connectivity, if some at all, and they wouldn't be able to basically do the job without offline solutions such as Resco. And then sometimes in urban areas too, like if you have a company that fixes or maintains elevators, and the field service technicians just have to go 3-4 floors underground. Usually there's not much internet there either.
No, it generally kind of gets a little choppy, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It can get a little choppy here in Florida at times.
Yes, it can.
Absolutely.
Feel the pain. No, that is, yeah, I mean, and those are all valid points. I mean, there's so many different areas. I mean, in terms of technology and how far we've come with mobility and having coverage in the majority of places, there are still locations, like you said, underground. It could be a secured facility. You could be in a desolate area, like you said, working on wind energy in the different places in the mountains. There's just so many different places where unfortunately, you just won't have that capability, but you still need the option and to basically enter in data, review what, whether it's account or it's equipment, if you're working on it from a field service perspective, to be able to capture all the work order details. So, I mean, it's a great asset to have that versus back in the day, everything was all paper-based and carbon copies. And it's just a matter of folks like Hitachi and myself and Sean figuring out, okay, well, what's the ideal volume to sync down or filter down to that offline capability so that you have enough, but you don't have too much where, let's just say hypothetically, maybe it's stolen, and we know that there's security features with Resco that I'm not, and Woodford Solution that I'm not going to divulge into in terms of if it's going into the conference, but there's things from this particular application that help kind of safeguard that as well. And that's why I think that this tool in itself is just, it's so robust and forward thinking in terms of, you said, mapping and dashboards and security and being able to, even depending on what implementations you have, you can accept payments or capture the payment details. So it really is extremely robust. And one of my biggest features is, I remember when I first started doing the Resco several years ago, it's like, oh, I can set up a field to scan a barcode and a QR code, and I still will demo that to people and show it to them, and they're just amazed by, hey, look at that. It takes that and reads it and puts it into a field. So all of those features, it's just a fascinating tool, and I know folks that are getting into it now. I guess, Yvonne, my question to you is, what are some of the areas that some of the newcomers that are getting into the Resco and Woodford arena, where should they start out? Because there is so much information and there's help guides out there on the Resco site, but where should they really start and say, if you really want to learn this technology, here's where you should go?
Mm-hmm. And that's a great question, and I think you're absolutely right. There's so much things in the Resco technology that it might be a lot overwhelming. So I think there's a number of different ways how partners or people who are interested in starting with Resco can follow. So as we're just 1 month from Resco.next event, I think that's the best start to really come to Atlanta and spend 2 days with all my colleagues and special guests there to learn about how to start with Resco. We'll have a number of sessions going from very kind of basic stuff, how to create mobile project, how to install the tools, how to make basic things. So I think that would be the best given the time right now. We, of course, have tons of videos on YouTube. We have a dedicated YouTube channel where we post a lot of videos that people can use and utilize to learn about specific functionality, how to set up things, even very complex topics around HTML5 and JavaScript, so how to extend the application by custom functionality, custom code. We have very detailed guides on our website, so step-by-step information and explanation of how to use the tools with screenshots, etc. And actually tomorrow, on Wednesday this week, which is February 14th, we're doing a webinar which is the Introduction to Woodford. So this webinar will be a continuous effort. So every month we'll have the webinar to go through the basics in Resco and how to start with a mobile project, how to make some simple changes there that should outline how easy it is to use Woodford when you're just starting.
And, I really agree with you on the Resco.next. If you're able to get out there and register and attend the session, there are so many different partners, so many different customers, so many different Resco employees there, that I think you're going to get a lot of input on not only things that you want to do with Resco, things you may not have known you can do with Resco, but your overall strategy in general. Talking to C-level executives, for example, that's going to be there. Plus, there's going to be a lot of great featured speakers that even if you have Resco implemented already, you may find new and interesting ways to implement the tool to get the most out of your licensing.
Absolutely. Plus, we'll be hosting a panel there, moderated by your MVP colleague, Rig McCutcheon, who agreed to come there, which I'm very excited about too.
Rick's a good guy.
Rig is extremely resourceful and so experienced. He works with so many companies, partners, and customers. And he'll be talking actually to customers and partners who will come to Resco.next in Atlanta. So for all other attendees, it will be also a great way to learn about how other people, how other companies, how other partners and customers approach mobility, how they use mobile solutions in-house, what challenges they face, and also what they foresee to implement in the future. It's also a great way to learn from the others.
A funny story I have on Rick. Every time I see him, and I'll never be able to do this anymore, but I'll tell the story because it's kind of funny, Yvonne. I say, hey, Rick, when are you going to buy me that drink? And he goes, oh, whenever you want. And then he buys it for me. He goes, what do I owe you this for? Nothing. He's just such a nice guy. He'll just reach in his pocket and buy me a drink. So
we have to say that he's Canadian, right? So he is. He must be a nice guy.
Yeah. What is this about? That sort of thing. But yeah, Rick's a very a great guy, really knowledgeable. But I've known him a long time.
Well, and I want to touch on the point that I think both of you mentioned that's important, especially regardless of wherever you are in your mobility path and expertise. The fact that you can come to Atlanta, Resco.next, or Resco.next, excuse me, and talk to experts in the field, talk to other customers, gain some wisdom and insight, and collaborate with everybody. I mean, really, for me, that's where the wheels start turning in my head in terms of, oh, I never thought of that before. That's a great idea. So it really can get the creative juices flowing to go back to your own projects or your own companies and start implementing or looking at implementing things you may have learned at this conference. And to me, those are extremely valuable benefits. If you have to sell that to your organization as to why you want to go, there's so much. Look at the agenda, but then look at who's going to be there. Ben, Rick, Yvonne, yourself, myself, and Sean, a bunch of others. There's so much that you can pick people's brains about at that conference or during, off time and things like that, where you might gain that insight to solve some problems or look at challenges a different way.
I agree 100%. And on top of that, we're going to have around 6 or 7 other people from Microsoft joining us there, people from the Global Black Belt group who are basically facing customers and the most kind of important projects. We'll have technical solution specialists, principal product management from Microsoft people there. So I think everyone will be able to get so much value from different people, from you, from MVPs, from Microsoft, from partners, from other customers. So it will be a great mix of people there, and so much to learn from and get inspired from as well.
Definitely, and it's in a great city, Atlanta. I love the city of Atlanta, and the hotel is top notch. So I definitely urge our listeners to go out there and go out to Resco's website and look at the details, the agenda, the hotel, and really truly consider getting yourself there, especially if you're on any mobile projects or if you're in the field service arena. I can tell you 100% there will be mobility involved in any field service project. I've yet to be on one that doesn't have it. Get there.
Yep. And we're hosting a party at the Sky Lounge, which supposedly is one of the best rooftop bars in the country, with a beautiful view of Atlanta skyline. So it will be fun as well. So it won't be just business and mobile and field service. We also want to make sure that that we have good time.
Yep, and you'll get a lot of good feedback and input from folks like myself at that venue as well. Probably a little more than you want.
To buy you another drink.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, no, I'll let him. I'll let him fill that obligation during the appreciation event from Woodford. That'll be Rick's way to take care of that.
There you go.
Awesome.
Yvonne, is there any other topics based on the Resco mobile client and field service and how we implement that you want to go through today?
Maybe a little spoiler alert. At Resco.next, we'll be talking a lot about other solutions and kind of vertical mobile solutions that we're about to release this year and this quarter. They're much more laser focused on specific scenarios and use cases that we see our customers trying to tackle with Resco as a general platform. But we're thinking, let's make their lives easier, let's make our partners' lives easier, and provide you with more focused mobile solution that tackles certain areas, certain use cases. So people can really expect a lot of talk about inspections, route planner, city smart solutions, and Resco as a mobile platform.
That's fantastic. You heard it here first. We got to add your service. What do you call it? Exclusive.
That's right.
Yeah.
There you go. So yeah, and we're also going to be recording an episode of At Your Service from Resco next. We're not exactly sure what day. But we will be. I'll be bringing my gear, and we will be recording live from the conference, live on tape, but live nonetheless. So we thank you for that. We're looking forward to doing that.
Absolutely, I'm very excited about that too.
Yeah, and we're gonna try to based on the vendors that are there, maybe get a vendor that we normally couldn't get. I think that'd be a great opportunity to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I'm looking forward to it. I am. It's going to be. I like Atlanta, middle of March, so we got about a month to go, and I expect that we're going to have some pretty cool tips and tricks to share with you there.
Definitely, and I have to say, Sean. So as we speak, I've actually taught myself a tip and a trick. Developing in the Woodford solution this morning for environment for a customer. So I've taught myself a couple extra things by looking at. I was stumped, and I went out to I actually have the Woodford guide. So just so that folks know, if you were to go out to Resco's website, there is a Woodford user guide. Bookmark it. I use it all the time because occasionally there's those one or two little things that you do once in a while, but you don't do it often, and you sit there and say, "Oh, wait, what was that again?" What? And then, let me go here. Yeah, there it is.
And doesn't that seem to be the way that Dynamics 365 is going? The less you do something, the more you need these kind of resources to guide that with you, because there's so much functionality and so much portability.
Yeah, I think so. And Yvonne, I would imagine, right, with the way that you just gave some of those spoiler alerts, some of this documentation from a self-help, knowing that you already know how to use the tool, of course, but those quick little, hey, if you forgot, for example, how to edit a filter or add a filter, or do a variable and things like that, these documents really help quite a bit.
Right. And Yvonne, it makes me wonder. Have you thought or considered at all working with the Docs team to maybe get a redirect from the docs.microsoft.com site out to your site?
That's a good point. Actually, I think we haven't, but I'd be more than happy to look into details and find a way to point it there and make sure that people can get the content easy and all the questions answered in the most convenient way.
Yeah, the user guide, we'll definitely add that link to our show notes so that everyone listening to this episode can get access to it and bookmark it for future use. But that would be interesting. Maybe we'll help you with that conversation, getting a redirect from the docs site, as Microsoft is really pushing that as their one place to really house all content, all information. It's a very powerful site, and it's a very user-friendly site. If a redirect to your information was available, I'd use it for sure.
Sounds great.
It's kind of that one-stop shop, right? I mean, yes, it's Resco's documentation. It's on their website, but at least if I go to Microsoft and I say, oh, if you need to know more about this, here's where you should go. Yep. I think that's fantastic. And Sean, I think you're right. I mean, Yvonne, we can definitely see what we can do there. I think we have a couple people's ears we've been working with, so we will see what we can do. I think that would be fantastic and help out all the folks out there that see all these different places to go for information and not sure where to start. It might be a good avenue to pursue.
Absolutely. Well, I think it's about that time. Yvonne, where can people reach out to you on the interwebs should they want to?
The best is to reach out to me via email. My email address is super simple. It's my first name, Ivan, I-V-A-N, @Resco.net. So that's the best. And I'm sure people can find more information on the web, Resco's web as well, Resco.net. I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Well, we will get the links to the user guide, to your email address, and to the @Resco on Twitter, I believe, as well.
One thing to add as well, Sean.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been working with Resco now for several years, and anytime I've had an issue or a question and I've had to speak to support, I mean, the response time and the response rate is phenomenal compared to if I were to look at even industry averages and dealing with other organizations. And then the willingness of the tech support folks to help out and get you back on track, to me is top notch. So, and I'm not just saying that because we have Yvonne on the phone, but I want to point that out to our listeners, because if you do have a problem, I mean, it's just the response has been great. The information that's been provided has been fantastic. I've never had sort of vagueness, I guess, so to speak, in trying to figure something out. I've always been extremely pleased with the support aspect as well. So I think that bodes kudos to Resco and the organization and how they put everything together from soup to nuts to help out the customer base.
I'm glad to hear that, Scott. Yeah, and I think it's one of our big strengths that really our support resources can be there for you, even though if you're in different time zone, different part of the world, we always try to respond on time.
Well, Yvonne, I think that wraps us up for our little 40 minutes here. Again, Resco.next next month in Atlanta. Links in the show notes to register and view the agenda as it sits now. Key presenters, Ben Vollmer, who can never stop talking good things about field service and Dynamics 365. Rick McCutcheon and Yvonne himself will be in some keynote sessions, as well as you'll get a chance to meet and mingle with the At Your Service crew, should you want to. You know, we're good people. We're fun. And
fun people.
We are fun people. And a lot of fun tips and tricks coming your way during that session as well. And keep in mind, there's going to be news that you're going to want to attend specifically to get that information firsthand. You'll hear it after the conference, I'm sure, but still, you'll definitely want to attend. And Yvonne, I really, really appreciate you joining us today.
Sean, Scott, thank you very much for having me today. I really look forward to not only your session, but to meeting you in person, and hopefully I can buy you a drink at the bar too.
I will allow that, Yvonne.
Sounds great.
All right. Take care, Yvonne. Thank you very much. And as always, we are at your service.
Thank you.
On behalf of myself, Sean Tabor, my co-host Scott LaFonte, and the Dynamics 365 diva, Sarah Jelinek, we thank you for listening and subscribing to the podcast. You can reach us at voice@crm.audio. On Twitter, you can follow us, CRM Hobbit for me, for Scott, at FLD Service _Guru, and of course, at Dyne365 Diva for Sarah. For more information and content about what we spoke about on this episode and others, visit our blog at atyourservicepod.com. This has been At Your Service on the CRM Audio Network, a production of Dynamic Podcasts, LLC.